All right.
Hi, Jodie.
Hey,
How
Cara.
you going?
Good.
Oh, thank you for joining me on this absolutely glorious day today.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been lovely.
You're welcome. This is a really lovely opportunity just to have a chat about what matters to you. And so tell me a little bit about you, a bit about your background, what growing up was like, what that looked like,
Like since childhood?
whenever you like, and what are you up to now? Just give us a picture of who you are.
Okay. I was born in outback central Queensland, and at about 2 weeks of age my family flew us to Gympie at the top of the Mary Valley, and my dad worked in the post office, so he took a posting there, and that's where I grew up. Actually, I lived in the same house for 17 years and then left home and went to uni, where I met my husband. And yeah, simple life, but not that straightforward, I suppose. Yeah, what else is there to tell?
Well, what was it like growing up in Gympie?
I grew up in the commissions of Gympie, so yeah, it was quite a diverse neighbourhood, shall we say, and there were some experiences living there, I suppose, that have made me really grateful for where life has taken me and how I've been able to raise my own family in a different environment. So
Yeah.
that's been good. But I mean, I really feel like I've had quite a blessed life.
Yeah, cool. And so tell me more about what you're doing now.
I don't know how I came to be doing this, but I am a providor of local and organic products, and I suppose it came out of many years of just running food co-ops with friends in my Brisbane network. And one day one of the mums said to me, "I wish I could pay someone to do this for me." And I went, well, maybe you could pay me to do this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it evolved. But it has been a very, very slow, almost tidally progressive process. I would not call the growth of the business very linear.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it for?
8 years this year.
Yeah, wow. Gosh, I can't believe you've done it that long.
Me neither.
Yeah, gosh,
You
I
know,
don't
though,
you started.
this is my natural, I don't know, it's just my natural way of being. And I enjoyed the co-op years, which I did for 8 years as well. So I suppose I've been doing this sort of thing for 16 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So what's important to you in your life?
I like to, well, I got 4 children, and it took us a while to get around to the having family stage in our marriage, because 30 is the average age for people to start a family now, but I suppose we got married at 22, so we had been married for 8 years before we started our family. And I always wanted them to have a country lifestyle, I suppose. I grew up in a country area, but my family didn't own land. We had a dairy farm around the corner. Lots of crops are grown in the Gympie area. My first job was picking beans, which I hated, but it kept me in touch with the earth, and I feel like that's really important. And now we're even learning more about the microbiome and how it contributes to our health and our mental health and our general human well-being. And I think intuitively I've always sort of felt in touch with that. And I was keen for the kids to have pets and for us to live around animals and to have an outdoor lifestyle. So that was how we came to eventually acquire some acreage out beyond Sanford, where there's a lovely little pocket of lush green that always held appeal to me, and eventually we managed to buy something there.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So providing a country style lifestyle for your kids.
Yeah, it's a little bit isolated sometimes.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I've had to do an awful lot of driving as the kids have grown up, but it's been worth it because they love where they live too. And I think we all have accepted that that's our forever home, and until my husband and I can't manage it anymore, we'll probably plan to stay there. The kids will always have that place as a home base. We feel really rooted there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm hearing that like having a sense of place is really important to you.
Yeah, maybe it's to do with me living for 17 years in the same house. I don't know. I've never thought I was that settled. I thought I wanted to live this extraordinarily glamorous life and travel the world and like be this mega businesswoman, and it didn't really turn out that way.
Yeah. Is that something that you still want to do
No.
at all, on any level?
No.
Yep. You're just
No.
really happy doing your work and having the kids around.
I would like to be successful. I don't feel like I've achieved that yet.
Aren't you successful though? I mean,
Myself?
Look at you, yeah, I mean, I look at you and I go, that's what you are to me. Like I look at you and I go, wow, you know, you've got a thriving little business, you've got a wonderful family.
I think, I don't know, I see my success as vicarious because my husband has had such a mega career.
Right.
And I don't feel like I'm self-made.
Okay.
But my time will come, you know. I'm writing a book. Maybe that'll become something. Maybe my business will become something. I'm just sort of halfway there yet, you know. And I'm patient. That's the nice thing about the country life. It's slower.
Yeah.
And I don't compare myself much to anybody else.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is that having that kind of just slow pace of living, that really intentional way of being in the world is just really, that's something that really matters to you as well. Like it's not just about the place, it's about the whole package.
I've never put it in those words, but you've just articulated it really nicely for me.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
To have a simple life.
Yeah.
To maybe not necessarily own very much, although, you know, this day and age it's kind of hard not to own all the stuff. And I suppose I've been really blessed that we can afford the life that we want, which is not especially expensive, but we have choices, and choices are a luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids have choices. You know, I grew up in the commissions where kids didn't have choices. And I was the first in my family to go to uni, and I'm not self-made. I've gone along on the ride, but I've contributed to where we are.
Well, yeah, I guess it's all a point of view, right? Like I get that, like you've got the business, like I feel like for you that's a bit of a side hustle. Would that be right?
It's meant to be the main hustle, but it has never generated enough money. There's a lot of churn in grocery, and I feel like after 8 years, you know, the tide's come in and things have gone well, the tide's gone out and things have been really quite dire. But at the moment the tide is in and the business is growing, and I feel like finally maybe it'll get there. Next year. I feel like this year we've arrived.
Yeah.
And Sanford is a bit of a slow place still, you know. People are not keen to jump on a bandwagon. The whole online shopping thing hasn't really caught on yet, and I've had to teach a lot of my customers how to shop that way.
That's interesting.
And I've had to teach them how to eat, because eating seasonally, you don't have the convenience of the supermarket necessarily. And the supermarkets have tricked us into thinking we can eat apples in summer and Brussels sprouts at Christmas time. And that's not the natural human way to eat. And given where we live in the food bowl of southeast Queensland. We have a lot more choices than others. You know, out in Longreach where I was born, you eat beef because there isn't much else.
Yeah.
That's local.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And so in your day-to-day life, like, and look, by the way, like that whole self-made thing, I just kind of wonder, like...
I knew you wouldn't like it.
No, well the thing is, it's not that I don't like it, it's just that I look at what you've done and I think you are self-made.
I didn't finance it. I didn't finance it, I suppose.
Yeah, I get
and
what you
so,
mean.
if I had financed it myself, I think I would feel a lot more successful.
Right. So there's something there, right? Like there's something underlying that for you.
Yeah. But I have always been a community-minded person, so I'm not motivated by money, much to my husband's frustration sometimes.
Yeah. Does it matter that it, you know, the family financed it? Does that matter?
No.
Yeah.
It did when I was losing money in the business, for sure.
Yeah.
It mattered a great deal to me, and it still hurts my heart a little bit that I haven't made that recovery. But we're on the curve now.
Yeah.
So and this is a long-term business plan. I'm not planning to build to sell so far. so far. Never say never, but this is a retirement hustle for me and my husband if we want it to be.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is that we can manage how big it gets.
Yeah, that is really great. Yeah, I look at it and I think, wow, it's amazing. I look at your whole setup at home.
It's a lovely little business.
The warehouse and everything.
Yeah, we're our own little supermarket. So having the kids at home, I think they're a little bit spoiled actually that they can just go down to the warehouse and get milk. We don't have to do that 15-minute drive in any direction to go and get bread and milk. So that's handy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like so many people don't have that kind of experience.
Yeah, Sunday morning coffee is just a completely self-sufficient affair and it's great.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah. So in your day-to-day life, what are you doing in your day-to-day life to implement what really matters to you? Like, can you give me a picture or a sense of that?
Well, it's kind of in flux at the moment because I am trying to write a book.
Yeah.
So I'm having to carve out time for that.
But that's also important to you.
That's very important to me.
Yeah.
It's been important to me for the last 10 years, but it's been a long time, nearly there. But the business is really, now that it's established, all about routines. Just about having good routines, and I like that because then the creativity can fit in the cracks of that. I don't have to, I probably should work a bit harder at the marketing, but I don't have to slog at the marketing in order for the customers to find me.
Yeah.
I've got a few reliable systems now that keep the customers coming.
Good.
School holidays are always a little bit tense because business drops.
Yeah.
And it's been doing that for 8 years and I still get a bit of a surprise every time we hit the school holidays and I go, oh, quiet week. But, we'll recover. The nice thing is now that I know we'll recover and it's just part of the cycle of retail.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would think towards Christmas that would
Peak.
increase. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure at Christmas time.
Yeah, I bet there would be. Do you employ everybody in the family? Like,
yes.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah, and they're at that age where they're able to learn and it's good experience. So, so no one has denied me the help so far, but the time will come.
Yeah, I've had that experience, believe me. Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing.
There was something I wanted to tell you though, because the original interview that we did, we talked about the land and how we came to it.
Yeah.
There's been a development since then.
Okay, tell me.
So I think I explained to you how, we couldn't afford to buy in Sanford proper, and so we kept looking a little further and further afield until one day we found the block that we're now on, and I drove in the gate of that property and I had like a physical heart reaction. I just knew that this is the place.
Yeah.
And we're not going to haggle. We're going to buy this, and this is where we're going to build a house. I just knew that in my bones when we drove in there. Well, since then, my husband went to the local museum, discovered his family name in the school annual that my kids went to, and his great-grandfather lived in our area a couple of generations ago.
Wow.
And married into the family whose street was named after that we live on. So, so I feel like it was all really meant to be.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Didn't know that the first time when I told you about that. And I just know now it's our forever home because that's where his great-grandfather first settled off the boat from Germany. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, totally blew our minds.
I bet. Wow. Why did he go and do that? Were you talking with him?
He just went to the museum just for something to do one day, and he just went, let me flip through the Mount, because the kids went to Mount Sampson State School, so he just flipped through the what do you call it, like the old school annals.
Yeah.
And accidentally came across his family name. It's not a common name.
So random.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So then we went to the genealogy records and ancestry.com and looked into it a little bit more, and yes, we come from that area. Well, he does, but yeah.
Wow, that's insane. I love it.
There we are. Just wanted to tack that on the end.
No, I love it. That's brilliant. I love it. That's so cool. So what in your life has primarily influenced what matters to you? Like what events or people?
Yeah, I think it was where I grew up and the people in my neighbourhood and being around farms growing up. The neighbour that we had in the blocks where I grew up in Gympie actually also lives in Sanford now.
Oh, okay.
And my mum, and that she catches up. And today is the anniversary of her father's passing away. And her parents were probably the biggest gardeners, food gardeners I ever knew. And they were the slightly wacky members of the neighbourhood who would garden every square millimetre of their yard. There would be no lawn. They had ducks, they had chickens. For a while they had a pony and a 1/4 acre block. And because they were so productive in that little garden, I think that was probably a really big influence for me. Right next door.
Yeah.
My dad was very much about mowing the lawn and keeping a couple of fruit trees out the back that were very, you know, pruned and mulched and very tidy, but he was not a wild gardener like they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like the good life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, it was the 70s too.
Yeah, well there you go. I love that show.
I still love that show.
Oh, that's so cool. So before, I know we've already discussed this for your previous interview, but just for the video's sake, has anyone ever asked you this question before I asked you this question?
No. No, that's a good question.
So since we last talked, like what has shifted for you? Or what's present for you?
What's present for me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that anything's changed.
Yeah.
I feel like my life is pretty consistent.
Do you think about it? Like, do you think about, is this thing important to me or not important to me? Or
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've always asked myself that question, but not literally. I've always felt pretty drawn to my true north, and sometimes, and I suppose I'm lucky I haven't had to wrangle hard to follow it. When I wanted to go to Japan for some travel and life and work experience, my husband was supportive, let's do it. And when I wanted to live in a certain suburb, my husband was supportive, let's do it. And when I wanted to move out to Sanford, yeah, let's do it. You want to have another baby? Yep, let's do it. So I haven't had to haven't had to push back. I feel like there's a bit of synergy, at least in our relationship. We haven't had to negotiate too hard. So yeah, that question's always been there, but not literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is important to me for sure. Yeah. And I feel like I'm already living it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So who in your life would benefit, do you think, from being asked this question?
Oh my God, my husband.
Have you asked him?
I should. I'll go home and do just that. He's about to leave on a big business trip. I do often ask him, you know, is this the job that you really want to be doing? Yeah, I think he's got such a strong provider instinct, he probably hasn't asked himself that. This is important to you, so let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
You got me thinking
else?
there.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if he knew what was important to you, like, and you knew what was important to him, how do you think that would impact on your relationship?
It would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he knows that what we're doing is good for him. I know he definitely feels a sense of being able to exhale when he comes home from work, and you know, we have some sacred rituals in the family that keep us connected as a family, and family definitely drives him. Yeah, he's very much about keeping the family close. Yeah, which is good. Yeah, super engaged dad, so that's always been a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah, in this day and age, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, he was the one who wanted to have the children. I was not that keen at the start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came around.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Like, I was keen to have one, but after one I was like, not so keen to have a second, but after that I was super keen to have a third. So it's interesting how that ebbs and flows, hey?
Yeah, yeah. 3 was always the plan for us. Well, didn't really have a plan initially, but yeah, 3 was what he wanted. And then because I was involved in the birth reform stuff along with you, yeah, a 4th was inevitable.
Yeah, well, yeah, I get it. Awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
No, I think some new stuff come up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's cool. Awesome. Well, I look forward to talking to you further down the track and seeing how the business goes and seeing what if anything transforms for you in terms of, thinking about how to implement what matters to you in your life. And yeah, I look forward to that.
More writing time ahead, I think.
Yeah, get that book published.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Fingers crossed.